guys, it's Kory with the Charleston Property Group. So I wanted to talk today for just a few minutes about my prediction on what the housing market's going to do moving into next year. There's been a lot of speculation out there that maybe we're entering into a market crash or a market bubble. I do agree that the level of appreciation that we've seen is relatively unsustainable. However, I don't necessarily see prices going down. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that for a little bit today and explain why I really don't feel like waiting to buy a house is necessarily a good idea and why we're not going to enter into a real estate bubble or a market crash. So you may have noticed that the housing market's been popping up in the media quite a bit lately. This article right here from Realtor.com says, foreclosures are shooting up. Is it a repeat of the early 2000s housing crisis? So the numbers that they highlight here aren't necessarily untrue. However, they are a bit misleading. You can see that foreclosures have gone up, almost 50% from this time last year. However, that's mainly due directly to the moratoriums ending. If we look back at a much more stable, healthy housing market like we saw in 2019, you'll notice that the number of foreclosures were much higher than they have been over the last couple of years. About a decade ago, one of the main reasons why we entered into a housing market correction, or really the Great Recession that some of us all remember, one of the stark differences between now and then is the number of homes that were on the market. If you look back here to the early 2007, 2008 range, we had almost 12,000 homes on the market, which was kind of unsustainable to an extent on the supply side. We had more homes available for sale than we had buyers. Lenders were giving money out without too much of a credit check. Whereas today, you can see that the inventory levels are just a fraction of what they were a decade ago. So this right here might be one of the biggest differences from our current real estate market compared to what we saw about 10 years ago with the last real estate bubble. If you've bought a home in the last few years, you know that the process to get the mortgage is quite involved. The bank or the lender is double, triple checking every little last thing on the file to make sure there's not a lot of risk and that it's as bulletproof as possible. That was not the case back in 2005, 2006, 2007, where you really could do a stated income mortgage application and the banks were just lending money really to pretty much anyone. That had a lot to do with why we saw so many mortgage defaults about 10 years ago. So mortgage interest rates are probably one of the biggest factors that I talk a lot about when determining if now is really a good time to be shopping for a home. You've probably heard us talk about it quite a bit this past year, and the fact that mortgage rates have been historically low, sometimes in the low 2% range, which is just unprecedented. As we look towards the future and how that's going to play out, pretty much all of the major indicators are showing that interest rates are supposed to go up. Now, while they may not skyrocket overnight, even a 1% or a 0.5% increase in an interest rate really is going to limit the amount of house that you can afford based on the payment that you want to achieve. Is it a good time to be buying a house? If you have recently bought a house, or maybe you've been looking for a house, you probably have been experiencing some frustration, with low interest rates like we just talked about, which increased buyer demand, and then not a lot of homes being available to choose from. That oftentimes created bidding wars and homes selling way over their asking price. Looking towards the future, however, we don't necessarily feel like buyer demand is going to go down. However, we've already seen, especially here in the Charleston area, more homes becoming available for sale on the market. Traditionally over the holiday season and the winter months, buyer demand is going to be at the lowest that it is traditionally throughout the year. So right now might honestly be one of the best times to enter the market with a little bit lower demand and inventory going up. So by all means, it really boils down to the fact of, hey, is it a good time for you and your family? But if you've been considering it, let's definitely talk. We are here to be a valuable resource for you every step of the way. Whether you're just thinking about buying or selling a home, please reach out to us. Our team here at the Charleston Property Group, we're an open book. We want to be here for your resource to answer any question you have along the way at any point in time. So don't ever hesitate to contact us. We are here to help you